Hey guys, what's up? Been telling you I was coming at you with a video about valve lapping, so that's what we're going to do today. I've got the head moved farther down on the bench towards where I can mount the camera, so you guys can get a little closer look at what's actually going on here. Doing my best here with what I've got. So I was telling you guys about a suction cup type tool that attaches to the valves to spin them with the other day. And this is what I was talking about. This I picked up at Napa. It's an Evercraft brand, and they call it a valve grinder. What it is a valve lapping tool. I think it was $4.80 something cents, so a little over $5 tax, title, and license. And let's open it up here. I'll show you what it is. It's just a soft pine, probably wood handle, and a heavy-duty rubber suction cup on both sides. So to utilize this, you've got to have the faces of your valves clean or the suction cup won't stick. I just use like a wire brush and maybe some solvent on them. They sell these with plastic handles too. They also sell them, of course, like I explained the other day, this is meant to stick to the valve, put the valve in the head, and spin it like this with your hands. That takes a while. They do make these that are just a straight thinner shaft, so you can chuck it in a drill and use a drill to spin the valve. That would be better for what I'm doing because these valves are so bad. This head really does need to be taken to the machine shop and have a valve job done, to be honest, but I can't afford that right now. So what I'm doing is showing you the way that people got by with this stuff in days gone by. Just a repair that's good enough to get it back on the road and do what it needs to do, because I'm not going to own this thing for 20 more years. And if I do decide to keep it for a long time, then later on down the road I will have more money to do it properly. But it was running before, as far as I could tell by the plugs and everything. It was hitting good on all cylinders, so I'm just really touching up the valves and making them better than they are since I'm here. So anyway, enough rambling. An essential tool for this is a small wire bristle brush. You'll notice that a few of my valve guide bosses here are nice and clean, and a few of them are still kind of grody. These really need to be clean, because this is where your valve seals sit and seal. So while you're in here, you need to go ahead and brush off all this old buildup. It's usually just motor oil, varnish, and crap like that. So you want to get it all clean, and it comes off pretty easily, especially if you've previously degreased the head, which you should have. You don't want to work on this thing when it's still oily. You need to get all the grease and oil off of it you can before you bring it in, especially if you're going to be doing the cylinder head port polishing that I've done. You don't want all that cast iron dust sticking everywhere. So especially down to like the oil ports. And if you've still got oil in it or grease on it, cast iron dust most certainly will make its way to that and stick, and it will come out later on when you've got it all back together on your engine running and hot oil is running through it. And then you get cast iron dust in all the little places where it really doesn't need to be, and that's bad. So you want to make sure you thoroughly clean up everything before you bring the head in to work on it. I had some degreaser that I picked up in town when I picked this up, actually, and I was so impressed with it. I tried to do my first product review on it for the channel, and I couldn't get any of my cameras to record for any more than about 3 minutes, and it pissed me off, so I gave up. Of course, now I've got the cameras working again, and no more degreaser. So another time. absolutely certain that I'll have other nasty, greasy shit to demonstrate its effectiveness on. But I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. You'll have to wait. And believe me, I've used a lot of degreasers. I'm always trying new ones when I see them, because there's always got to be something better, right? So, anyway. Another thing I should have known, but I didn't even think about it, was when I was doing all this pork polishing the other day, cast iron shit flying everywhere. I had my cup of ice water sitting right here. Well, when you're thirsty and tired and you go to drink out of it and you see a cloud of rust floating on top of your drink, that's really disappointing. So, if you're going to be doing stuff like this, either keep your uncovered drink far away or get a bottle of water or something. I don't think cast iron bits are really good for your innards. Yeah, you know, maybe it gives you iron. But I don't think that's how that works, and the bits are sharp. In fact, my eyes told me that for quite a while after I got done. And if it does to your insides what it did to my eyes, it ain't good. So, anyway, once again, rambling. Let's move on. Our valve guide bosses up top are clean. So now we're going to flip the head over. I hope you can see what I'm doing, because I have not checked this camera angle since I started. Oh, yep, that's time to move. Let's angle this down a bit. Well, you can really see what we're doing here. You've seen enough of my pretty face for now. And we're going to flip this cylinder head over. And I've got it set up on wood blocks, of course, because you need room for the cylinder. You need room for the valves to pass through and not hit the table. So, let's see, what cylinder are we going to work on? Where's the camera best? Cylinder 1, cylinder 2. Let's do 2, and let's move the head a little bit. And be patient. Yeah. Okay, 2 is going to be our go-to. So, and I may not have mentioned this the other day, but you want to keep your valve keepers when you're pulling the valve train out. You want to keep the valve keepers, the retainers, with the valves that they came off of. You don't want to mix those up either. So, I'm going to start with the intake valve here. I'm not sure you can see that, but there is a bit of pitting in the valve seat here as well. I highly doubt that I'm going to be able to take all of this pitting out, but every little bit helps. So, if you're taking this apart and you're inspecting your valves, you want to look here and here. This is varnish buildup, and it actually shows better on the exhaust valves. This is cylinder number 2 exhaust valve. You see this nastiness right here? This right here tells you that it was in fact leaking oil past the valve seals and burning oil, because that is oily shit right there. And that doesn't get on your exhaust valves unless it's coming down the valve stem and dropping into the cylinder. So, just a little tidbit there. Now where did my wire brush go? Because I can't keep track of anything. There it is. Alright. So, our valve is actually pretty clean. This, once again, is the intake valve. So, what we're going to do is just buff it up. And you're not going to hurt this valve with a little wire brush. I mean, the valve is much harder than the brush bristles are. So, scrub the shit out of it. And you'll want to do the same thing to the stem, because you want it to turn smoothly. Now on the stem you want to be a little more careful. You don't want to scratch it, because that'll eat up your new valve seals. I'm going to have to clean that garbage out of the keeper slots too. Right here is not really super important to clean right now. You obviously should clean it before you put everything back together, but it's not like required, I guess. It's just gonna, if you leave it dirty, it's just gonna collect more buildup again quickly. So, you know, as long as you're here cleaning up all their shit, why not clean it? Anyway, so now please be patient with me. This is a camera angle and distance that I have not really worked with much on this channel, or on any channel for that matter, because this is my only channel ever. So once again, we've got our valve grinding compound and we've got our valve. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of compound. You know what? I guess I'm going to have to unclog that. Oh, this compound has been sitting around and I don't use it much, so yeah, alright. And this is water soluble, so you can actually mix it up and thin it down. Okay, now that's way too much. You really don't need anywhere near that amount. But since I squeezed it out of the tube, oh shit. Alright, what I'm going to do is take about half of it and I'm going to stick it on the exhaust valve. Just save it for later. Anyway, that's all you need, a little bit in one spot, and this stuff spreads out when you're using it. If you've ever used Never-Seez, you know how it gets everywhere with the tiniest little bit of dot of it on you? Valve grinding compound's the same way. So, ease the valve back in the guide. Now, you can spit on it and get it wet if you want. I just use a little bit of water. And you hear that, it's cutting. So usually you do this after you've done a valve job, and this is just the fine tuning of the valve to valve seat connection. So when you're doing this like me right now, because you can't afford to take it and get a valve job, yes, it will help. No, it's not the right way to do it. But it has been done hundreds of thousands of times by old timers, and it's still done today and it still works. So, and in fact, if you pull a head off and it's got, 100,000 miles, 120,000 miles on it, and the valve seats aren't all pitted and stuff, it's still a good idea to go ahead and do a little bit of lapping like this, especially if you're replacing the valve seals, because you've got the valves out anyway, and it will improve the sealing of the valve to seat and, up your compression a little bit. So there's no reason not to do it. It's a $5 tool, and I think the valve grinding compound is $3. It only takes a little bit of time to do this. So, and if you have one that goes in the drill, it goes even faster and you can put more pressure on it and make it cut better. So let's see what we've got. I'm going to take a rag and just wipe this compound off. Once again, this is water soluble, so you can keep a bit of water around and a dish or something, and use a wet rag to wipe it off. You remember how pitted that was, right? Look how nice and smooth that valve seat is all the way around. So you can avoid getting a professional valve job done just doing this. Now, as I explained, the intake valves aren't near as bad as the exhaust valves, and yeah, that actually looks pretty good. I might do a little more on that, but I'm gonna leave that for now. Now let's move to the exhaust valve. I try to keep these videos under, 15 minutes usually. Now this one's at 16 minutes right now. So I'm gonna try to make this a little quicker, because people lose interest the longer videos go. And if you lose interest, then you can't learn. So a little bit of compound. It's more than I used on the other one, but the exhaust is much worse. Now I'm getting in a hurry and forgetting things. So remember, you got to clean up the valve face or the tool won't stick. Way faster if you've got like a wire wheel in a grinder, a bench grinder. Just got to be careful not to suck the valve into the grinder and destroy it. So we'll see if that sticks. And there's still cast iron dust in that guide. Okay, so you got to use the smaller section. Yeah, see, it doesn't want to stick. Son of a bitch. Let's see if that helps. Oh yeah. Well, it helped a little bit. And this is exactly why I was telling you, you need to clean the valves before. You know what it is? That cast iron dust in the guide is kind of hanging it up. But this ain't a clusterfuck. This is stupid. I'm getting in a hurry. Okay. That's not working. I'm wasting my time. Let's see if I can blow that out of there. Some 600 grit emery cloth. Let's see if that works any better. No, it's still kind of tight right there. And I really shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. When you're done with all this, you need to thoroughly clean the entire head before you reassemble everything the final time, because you do not want any of this valve grinding compound or cast iron dust or carbon or any of this other nastiness in this head when you put it back on your engine. You are asking for trouble if you do not clean it thoroughly. And I mean the water jacket, the oil ports, everything. I mean, imagine leaving some of this grinding compound and in the valve seat here, and it gets sucked into your cylinder. Is it going to completely destroy that cylinder? No, but it is going to score it, and you really don't want that. And I'm not putting a whole lot of downward pressure on it. I'm putting some. Damn it. So once again, this is why I said clean the valves good before you try to stick this. Like any suction cup, it really doesn't want to stick to a dirty surface. Alright, now you can hear that the valve grinding compound is no longer sounding like it's cutting aggressively. So let's pull it out and see what it looks like. Yeah, I can already see it's still got some pitting on the valve, quite a bit. But it is improving. So let's look at the guide, or the seat guide, dumbass. Yeah, the seat actually looks a lot better. The valve is more pitted than the seat. So we're going to go over this a few more times until we get it looking like that intake valve was, where it's nice and uniform and you don't see any pits on both the valve and the seat. And I'm going to do that for all 6 cylinders. Reinstall it with my new seals, put all my springs and keepers back on, clean up the whole head, of course, before I put it together, and then clean my sealing surfaces, throw it back on the Jeep, and run the piss out of it. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. I do my best to make these things as informative as I can. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself or forget something. But hey, you know, if you like what you see, if you found this helpful, please hit the like button down below. If you enjoy the videos, you know, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, trying to grow so we can help more people and you know, spread the good word of automotive stuff. So appreciate you watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.